All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka ToeTagginTambo, back for our second edition of the First Look Show. It is going to literally be the first look anyone can possibly give you. I haven't even looked yet because it just came out 2 seconds ago, 2 minutes ago, whatever it might be. Didn't even get to talk to my guy, Degenerate, before the show to just get into things, but we ran it back. We're running it back. We had it on his channel last week. We're going to rotate channels all the way throughout the season, so we'll be here talking this every week. This is an annoying week, be honest, up front because of NFL. So right after this, I'll be live on the NFL show with Hoop and Title on the Mayo Media Network with Kenny tonight on Fantasy Golf Gents. But we're still excited. Got another good tournament coming up. We had a great tournament last week. James, my friend, I'll bring you in. Quick little recap of that one. I got to tell my story, but how was your week?
I mean, you know, if that cut would have been -3, like we were all hoping, I mean, Pat Mayo just willed the power of the gods to make that -2. It had no business being -2. How guys can't find, like, guys were finding bogeys on those easy ass 18 and 9. It was just so luck sack. So that really hurt. But, you know, like, I don't know. You can't always just look at if you won money or lost money on a week-to-week basis at PGA DFS to determine success. I call that being results-oriented, which is okay in the long run, but not in the short run. So, you know, I look at things like, how did my sleepers perform? Was my 6 of 6 rate higher than the field? And all those things were yeses, and I was happy. Just another Sunday collapse, right?
Yeah.
Oh, did I get the weather right? Yes, I did.
Yeah, that was annoying. The weather was right for sure. You were on that. I know for a fact. I know sleepers, some of the sleepers you have are really good.
Carl.
Yeah, that guy. I was just trying to look at my PGA results real quick because you just said that. What's funny is even with this, I mean, even before I was crushing with 6 of 6s in the end. So like the pitch and putt, I was in for 1,000. I got back 800, for example. For the 18, your favorite tournament, the 18 entry max, the one that you created, I was in for 180, got back 410. Like it was up down based on those numbers that I have. But if it had been a -3 cut, it would have been absolutely insane. I'll tell a quick story because some are in the Discord with us, some probably aren't, whatever, but it's crazy how it comes full circle. I posted out today. I was in King of the Desert, had 2 seats, the PGA version. One was dead. That's fine. It was a 5 of 6. The other one was one of only, I believe it was like 10 or 12 lineups total that would have been 6 of 6 if the cut was -3. My boy Pat Mayo, our guy, is out there willing this thing home. I know he's going to say he was just letting the people know. It was like him, Kenny Kim, all these guys I'm going to talk to over the next 2 days, give them shit, trying to will this thing in for all their 2 unders. And then everybody's so excited, all their 6 of 6s, but it's like the field has it too. And that's the problem. So anyway, the full circle is this. Joel Damon, obviously everybody knows, missed that 4-foot putt, went on Twitter after, was like, yeah, you guys all owe me, like all that stuff. In the end, I needed the only way I could get in. I was in 54th. There was 4 people in front of me that had one of Benny or Keegan, and there was one that had both. So there was only one way to get in. I would have came 52nd, 50, whatever it was, if one of those other 2 won. Grayson makes the bomb. My wife's so excited because she's into the sweat yesterday. And I'm like, no. I was like, that just guarantees we get the next hole. Benny's going to go up and make this putt from 3 feet or whatever. And I go, you know what? Actually, he's going to miss this putt. He's going to say, damn, and then look away. And next thing you know, he just wires it right by and got the job done. So it hurt others. Sorry for those that lost one, but full circle. One guy makes it, the other guy misses it, end up getting through to round 2. Anything else you want to talk about?
I have some thoughts on that. 1, Grayson Murray is not the guy that I want my life riding on in a playoff. That's number 1. And number 2, Benny Ann had been rolling in every freaking putt all day, so it's incredible. That's the one he missed. But you know what? Tambo runs good. What do you want me to say? The guy has, he runs. He's amazing.
That's how it goes. Sometimes you have to just, now I can't complain for a long time. That's all. And I'll be honest about that and know how it all works. I'll get some stuff up here and talk about it. Do you want to talk anything quickly just about opening up on this tournament? Obviously, for those that don't know, different stuff that you can bring up, the 3 rounds, all that, those factors, but anything in the beginning you want to talk about?
I mean, yeah, so a lot of people, because we're really trying, my goal is to try to get more people into PGA DFS. I just think it's the best DFS sport out there, right? And what I would tell you is, like, just the basics is this is a 3-course rotation. We don't see many of these. I think there's only one of 2 tournaments where we see a 3-course rotation, and they're going to be playing all 3 rounds the first 3 days. So this is one of the very rare times we get a 54-hole cut. That means they cut after 3 rounds as opposed to cutting after 2 rounds. So the cut sweat will actually be Saturday as opposed to Friday this week, and there'll only be 1 post-cut round. These all 3 of these courses, a lot of people are going to say one course has an edge over the others, but what you're really going to find is that the best players all play the stadium course Saturday, right? They just make it that way every year, where they play La Quinta, then they play Nicklaus Tournament, and then all the good players go play the stadium course Saturday and Sunday, which I think is a big advantage, playing the course that you're going to play against Saturday or on Sunday. That you play on Saturday, and you get the quote-unquote 2 easier courses the first day to really build your confidence. So, it makes Showdown really, really interesting, but more than that, I think it makes playing your lineup construction more interesting, because you can get a little more crazy when you really only have to sweat your guys missing 1 round as opposed to 2 rounds if they miss the cut.
Yeah, one quick question on that too, because obviously the Showdown Hoedown, your site is up on the screen there, dgen75.com. You guys can check that out. Use promo code SHIPIT to get 10% off, but I'll let you talk more on that in a second. But being in the Showdown streets, a week like this, I've been saying this forever. I know you talk about it sometimes too, but again, just some new people out there watching this or for the first time. And thank you, by the way, to everybody last week. Over 2,000 people tuned in for this first look show. Who wants to look at golf on a Monday? Remember back in the football days?
In January.
Yeah. But it was good. We do appreciate that. Lots of likes out there. If you guys can do us a favor on this channel, hit that like button, subscribe to the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station, trying to keep growing this thing as fast as we can. But do you notice, like, everyone says, oh, everybody knows the edge in Showdown, but yet when there's weather edges, when there's course edges, things like that, yes, there is people that know it within our bubble, but how many people truly know it? I mean, you look at the numbers better than I do, probably behind the scenes too. What's it look like from an edge perspective when you see weeks like this?
So, like, everybody thinks, oh, of course everybody knows about Showdown. No, like, the 10% of the people who are going to be playing Showdown and who listen to content, no, let me rephrase that, who listen to smart content, because there's a lot of people doing content out there at Showdown. They don't even fucking talk about weather, right? Which is just crazy. Like, the firmness of the green, when the course is going to be able to get nuked, and when people who have their A+ game are going to be able to get it in the best conditions. And so you can just go look at the numbers of how many people, like, at Showdown, when there's a clear morning versus afternoon edge, and usually only about 10 to 15% of people will build their lineups on a 6-0 skew, meaning 6 guys from the morning, 0 from the afternoon, or vice versa, depending on where the edge is. And like, that just means there's such a massive edge to be had at that, and that it's not going away. And this one is even more unique because all the guys are going to be on the course at the same time, and they're going to be playing different courses. So you should be playing your strategy different, and you should be attacking the course that you think is most gettable. Although last year, all 3 courses were all super gettable.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That can happen as well. And we'll talk about when we get to main slate. Obviously, you'll host the best Wednesday night stream that'll be there. I'll be on a couple different shows this week. I'll be here with you as I am right now. You guys are watching us. I'll be back later this evening recording the Fantasy Golf Degenerates with Kenny, where we go a little bit different. We'll break it down from actual digging into the tiers versus this is really just a true first look. I don't even know what the pricing looks like yet. And then the other setup is going to be tomorrow. I'm recording with Mayo. He's going a day early again this week. And then if things aren't weird enough, next week is actually the Farmers, which starts on Wednesday. So we're talking about all these different things and course rotations and days back and stuff. Only a few weeks out from the Waste Management, where we'll be in Arizona. Talk more on that later. And then I'll be back tomorrow afternoon with Hoop on this channel, breaking it down with updated ownership, everything there. But the Wednesday night.
Why does Farmers start on Wednesday?
This
is news to me. Why?
Is it Pebble or is it?
Why would they? Like, what's the point?
Yeah, football. Yeah, that's why.
Oh.
That's why it's the division rounds.
So they just don't want to go up against football on Sunday?
What is it? It's the weekend. Oh yeah. Sorry, it's the conference championships that weekend. That's okay. Why. So Sunday's the 2 best games. Which, by the way, I say this all the time, but that is actually I like that. I like those games better than the Super Bowl. But obviously, I like Super Bowl weekend because, like, for this, we'll be together, people hanging out at parties, having fun, eating good, having some drinks, things like that. But I definitely like those games. But it's definitely to not compete with the conference championship games on that Sunday. That's why. So, all
right, and that's the Farmers on the 24th, which is a Wednesday. Sure as shit. Look at that. Okay, so I guess I'll be doing the stream on Tuesday that night or that week. Fuck, didn't even realize.
He's taking notes.
I live life 1 week at a time, one golf week at a time. Somebody tells me there's other tournaments out there. I don't know till this week's over, Bob.
Yeah, our guy Nick, shout out to Uncle Nick. Appreciate you, man. Always talking the good stuff. And he says that. And we've been talking about this in chat plenty. I'll let you talk about your site in a second, but real quick, someone brought it up. Like, how much was Grayson owned? I saw there. This was just another takeaway from last week that you can apply to this week. We're always trying to bring a few things to the stream, but was anyone on Grayson Murray? And if so, do you have any idea why? It was 0.08%. So in the main $20, I calculated it out, there was about 300 lineups that did have Grayson Murray. None of them were at the top. And so this was a talking piece that I brought up again, back to what I always say when people are bringing it up about, oh, I got this diamond in the rough. If I just play enough of this guy and if he has a great week, I'm going to do well. 300 people played Grayson Murray. He won the tournament and still wasn't required. The lowest owned guy in the winning lineup was like 9%, Nick Taylor or something.
Okay. There was like 35,000 people in that, right?
Yeah.
And you said he was 0.08, so only 0.1%, right?
I think so.
Okay. I'm just, is that not 30? I'm good at math, but I feel like I might be doing this wrong. So 30 times 0.08 equals, okay, I guess I'm putting this in wrong. Or maybe it's 0.008, so that'd be, I think it's like 30 people had him, right?
Well, yeah,
I'm pretty sure
it might have been less. It might have been less.
Yeah, because 1% of 3,500 is 350, and he was 1/10 of that. So it'd be 1/10 of 350 would be about 30 to 35 people had him.
That's right. Yeah, sorry. I was thinking there was more people in the tournament for some reason too, but it's only 35,000 this week.
So 30 people, and the chances that you're going to hit Grayson Murray and then also have 5 other pieces in there, like, good luck with that, Bob. I mean, it was a great play for those guys. I'm not saying it's not, but if you're going to play Grayson Murray, this is why you always want to have him. If you're playing 20 lineups and you're going to play a punt like Grayson Murray, have him in at least like 3 or 4 of those 20 lineups. So if he does hit, you don't have to have the perfect other 5 guys with him. You give yourself multiple chances to have another good 5 guys with him. This is why you'll never see me play just one guy in one of my 20 lineups. I have a rule that if I'm playing 20, I have him in at least 4 of those 20. If I'm playing 150, I get him in at least 8 to 10% of my lineups.
Yeah, I had the numbers wrong, but I forgot I was in class with the former teacher as well, so he got me good. But I do want to remind you, the point I was actually going with there is not just the Grayson Murray one, because whether it was 30 or 350 in any tournament, it doesn't really matter to me. It's that point of now you have to extrapolate that. He's the one gem, the one needle in the haystack that did find his way to somehow get back and win this tournament. But then you go and look at the numbers, like Skyhook DFS posts out on Twitter, and there was like 0.1% to 2% of all kinds of different guys that everybody's just stringing their net out and trying to find this one. And that even if you do, it's not really going to be something like that. And that's the whole point of why we're looking at these things and always trying to figure them out. But when you start playing the game, like DGen says, or like Nick just brought up, and not worry about who it even is, like play the game. Don't worry about the plays and the numbers and all that stuff. You have to actually be able to have something that can get to the top. And that's the way. In the main winning lineup in the 200,000, it really had all to do with roster construction. I think the lowest owned guy was almost 10% because it was a heavy chalk filled week. So just keep that in mind on top of it. So I think this is the thing. I've got him on numbers multiple times on NFL shows, Nick. This is, and he says he's not the numbers guy. He's like a history English teacher or something, he told me, and that's why. And then he figured out the numbers today. So that's fine. I digress. We move on. James, tell him a little bit about your site before we move on to this tournament and breaking down the first look pricing.
I mean, I have the, over at my site, there's just nobody who goes harder. I have my own weather guy. We put out weather. I definitely have the best ownership in all of the industry. My projections are unique. I'm not copying somebody else's. I make mine and I factor in things more than just like long-term form like everybody else's projections. But most importantly, I have the Rosetta Stone, which is a way for you to look at all these numbers that these data sites give you and put them into a useful manner to actually see what matters for both week long and for showdown. So if you don't have 80 hours a week to be a sweaty loser tryhard like me, but you still want to make informed decisions, you do it. And I try to do it and make a competitive price. All these tout sites out there gouging people at $100 a month for golf and shit like that makes me want to punch a wall. So I try to offer a better product than them for cheaper. Golf is just $34.99. I'm telling you, you're going to want to lock that in. If you want all my stuff, we have $54.99. And if you want that big guy where we meet before every slate, I meet and I have a chat with all of them, that's $100 a month because that's like my most premium thing. Like we literally get on there and chat about our strategy, my process, and that is going away come the waste management. It's just getting too full and it's getting impossible to keep up with.
Ask about your weather guide's qualifications. So far, so good from everything that I've seen and pegged it both weeks, I believe, already. He
literally has been doing weather for the Navy for the past 20 years. What does he do for a living? He does weather. That's what he does.
That's right. So real quick, I'll go to SHIPIT Nation just so you guys know we are on the channel here, but I have to bring this up because it is the last week that you can double down on the golf package. We just posted it out on X, all the success of the members that we could find. And then there's a bunch more in the Discord. But with the PGA only packages, when you go to shipitnation.com, you click this option. Right now, you can set it up here. These introductory prices are going away. It tells you right here what they're going up to. This is your last chance to get in at these prices. You can use the code DGEN if you want to get 10% off to get set up there as well. So leave that as that is. Go back to it here. Let's do our first look here. We'll talk about, I'm going to move this stuff around and see how much. Okay, someone else said this too. Were you surprised with how strong this field was for the Amex?
Man, honestly, I thought it was a signature event. I just assumed this was a signature event with all these people here, but it's not. So I guess it just kind of found that sweet spot in the schedule, because we know these golfers don't like to stack 4, 5, 6 events in a row. You know, they plan their breaks. You know, I hate when people say, like, you don't get tired from golf. You go play competitive golf 4 days in a row and tell me your ass isn't mentally and physically exhausted. So, like, they need to build these breaks in. I think that this just found the Goldilocks part of the schedule, and we ended up getting a lot more stars here than we were anticipating.
Yeah, and we'll give you your wish, but that's it. It's right now putting it on the screen and saying we will not be talking about, or I will not be talking about this guy ever. Don't care. We'll move on. But that's the note on Michael Block. The other thing too is just back to that. I saw Michael Kim, who's been pretty cool on Twitter, at least posting these threads out and mentioning stuff. He did one for the Sony, and he was talking a little bit about that stuff as well. And then he also mentioned that much like regular gyms in all of North America, it's very busy in the gym this time of year, he said, but by the time we get to John Deere, it will not be very busy. And it was just so nonchalant how he threw that out there, but it is so true, right? It's the beginning of the year. Everybody's got their stuff going on, getting back into the gym, getting healthy, getting fit, getting in shape. So should note that.
Michael Kim and Benny Am, for all of you PGA DFS guys that don't really follow golfers, those are probably the two best Twitter follow golfers that, like, at least will engage a little bit with the DFS community and give out relevant information, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, and he goes, I thought it's something like, I thought Joel Damon was a good guy. That is now confirmed, because I believe he was one of the guys also at 2 under that helped him.
You know, and the worst part is that guy didn't even do shit over the weekends. I think he finished like 3 away from dead fucking last. So thanks, Joel.
How long? I mean, we've been playing this game forever, but there was 2 things that were certain. Joel Damon would do nothing over the weekend after doing that, and guys like Svensson would just go nuclear and go off, and he had like 2 eagles in the last round, everything that happened. I was playing him like crazy in Showdown on Saturday and Sunday the minute it happened. Because
if you weren't playing Eric Cole and Adam Svensson Saturday for Showdown, you don't know these streets. Ed Connors, like, you just know when dickheads like that, when Donkey Chalk lucks into the cut, they always go nuke. Just know this is just an experience thing. I'll die on that hill.
So we do have a good field here. I've got the pricing up on my other monitor here just so I can go through with you, get you, so surprise you and hit you off guard. But Scotty Scheffler, most expensive, obviously, but we got Scotty, Xander, Cantlay, Sung Jae, and Tom. Oh, I guess Sung Jae rounds out. Tom Kim's in the other. What's your thoughts there?
Can we put it on the screen to see? Or
I don't have it on the screen, no.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So right up top, 4. Okay, first of all, it's very nice to have guys back over 10,500, right? Like last week with old Iceberg only being at 10,500, I thought pricing was too soft. And now when you play Cantlay, Xander, Scheffler, like, you're making a commitment to those guys when you get to the high 10s and the lower 11s. Like, that does impact what you can do with the rest of your lineup pretty dramatically. So I like to see that. I will tell you initially, one of those 4 is not like the other. Sung Jae being up at 5 figures seems a bit steep.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to run off what we saw last time, right? So you saw him have the good outing there. The conversation around, which did come up, we brought up on the first look, and then I started going with it from there. This fact that him and Siwoo got the gold medal at the Asian Games. A lot of people are talking about that. We're kind of let the sweat off their back. They're good to roll now. They don't have to worry about that anymore. And now they're playing more free. There was notes too. Like, obviously Sung Jae had the record, right? Last tournament out that he played for birdies. So I think that's where people are going with it. But it's interesting. How do you think his ownership comes in? Because he's not Best Buy pricing. You're definitely paying a little bit more. There is no sale. It's $10,100, not $99.
Best Buy pricing almost certainly tells me Tom Kim will be higher owned than Sung Jae, right? Just because they see $9,900, right? Oh, I get to start in the 4 figures, because this is such a weird thing that people are like, when's if I just fade all the 10K plus guys? And my thought is always, how is that any different than fading the 9,700 plus guys, right? Like, why do we always use 10,000 as this magic line of delineation, right? And so to me, I think that people literally do think that, like, somehow that 5 figure is some weird threshold that you should consider more differently than you should any other random number. And I think that you will see people get off of Sung Jae because he's right above that, and get on Tom Kim because he's right below that.
Yeah, and history-wise too, like, obviously people are going to look back at last year where Tom Kim came 6th. So we'll get to that range in a second. But Scotty Scheffler up top compared to the bros, Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay. Any take on those three?
First of all, like, let's not forget, everybody, this is the contest where John Rahm's like, this is a fucking putting contest. Rah, rah, rah. I bitch about everything.
And then wins.
Yeah, you know, well, the guy's such a whiny bitch. I don't get why people like him. Anyways, I digress. Yeah, like, is Scotty, like, can we trust his putter again? Because, you know, like, when he was first coming up, I remember always thinking, this guy is like Jordan Spieth. No one makes more 20-foot miracle putts than this guy, right? But then, like, ever since he's become the tee to green god that he is now, it's like he kind of has become kind of an asshole putter, but it's like the last few times we've seen him, it seems like he might have got something figured out, and if Scotty Scheffler is going to putt just even slightly above average, he's just night and day better than the rest of these guys. I want him at tough courses. I want him at easy courses. I want him at medium courses, and I'll pay the premium for it if I just know that his putter will be slightly above average.
Yeah, and I guess that was kind of the take from last time too. I always like Scotty. I don't really care again if he there was 7 tournaments last year that he probably could have won where it just came down to that, and we always say that. But again, it also matters what others do around him. I do still trust him more. While you've got Xander and Cantlay and some of these results here, like I do still trust Scotty more. So I would like Scotty and Im as my early first look, just looking at it the way it is and leave those two guys out of it. But I know that people are going to love to play all these guys up here. So I do expect ownership to get pretty spread out. And then Cantlay Sungjae to be a little bit lower owned because he's going to get squeezed by Cantlay, Xander, Scotty, or dropping down to this next range.
You know Xander's going to have 2 rounds at -8, though. It's just going to be, what does he do with those other 2 rounds? He'll go nuke 2 of the 4 rounds, I promise.
Yeah.
That's just what Xander do.
That is what he does. And last year, 3rd here as well. So he's going to be another guy that gets talked up. And 10-9, just that slight savings from that. I also remember, too, I think Scotty had one really bad round of with the putter last time out, too, that's going to still get brought up by some and be thought about of, okay, well, maybe it's not back and you could just fade him and drop down to Xander. So I do think you're right. Probably Xander has that ownership there. I think you nailed it in this next range. We'll go to the 9Ks, Chris Kirk at 9K up to Tom Kim at 9,900. Tell us what you see here, some of the guys that stand out. And then you already mentioned with Tom Kim, I think that's going to be an extremely popular play this week. He's 28-1, 30-1 in some places. So I saw people betting that this morning already as well.
Yeah, I think Tom Kim is probably almost certainly going to be the highest owned guy in this range. The air in my lung in this range is just seeing Justin Thomas and Jason Day back up in the upper 9s. Life is so good. I love fading those donkey dicks when they're overpriced because people play them, and I need it. Like when JT was like 7,800, it was getting hard to fade him, right? Because I know his long-term talent justified a bigger price tag. But now that he's back up to 9,800, people are still going to play him. To me, the big thing here is like guys like Tony Finau and Ricky Fowler are just like objectively better golfers than like JT Poston, yet they're all like at the exact same salary range. So are people going to ride more of the hot hand with JT Poston, or are they going to ride the long-term who's a better golfer, Ricky or Tony? That's what really stands out to me. Are you wanting to go hot hands, or are you wanting to go long-term talent here? And I don't know what I'm going with yet.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is like Finau used to be the guy that would always just get that last-minute ownership bump, and it kind of has slowed down on that from everything that I've seen over the last year and a half. It's turned into other guys now. Right now, we'll see it with certain guys like Thigala or whoever the other sweetheart or darling is, if you want to call it. But with Finau, you haven't really seen it. So what we see his ownership, I know you grind ownership harder than anybody out there. When I see that on Wednesday and get a sort of final look, and we'll have our ownership up as well over at SHIPIT Nation, but like that's one where I used to give a bit of a bump to him. I've stopped doing that because I just don't see it landing on him anymore. And it is interesting, but I do think you got to think Poston, hot round on Sunday, everything he had going, you got to think some of that carries over to some ownership here. I really do wonder, though, if people go to, how do they go to Minwoo? People know he's a talent now, and they've been watching him, and it's been awesome, but do they really play him at 95? It looks like 95 to 9,800, even 94, because I think people are done with Sam Burns.
Yeah, that's a weird overpricing, isn't it? Like Sam Burns at 9,400. What, did I miss something? Did he win a tournament in another part of the world or something?
11th here last year. I guess maybe that's why. But I do think it's certain to me, at least as of right now, that Tom Kim dropping down to probably Poston, but obviously Finau and Fowler, maybe Kirk, would be those secondary options for ownership in there. And it looks like early on, at least, 94 to 96. I can't see a lot of ownership going there, but JT could get boosted up because, like you said, people will always talk about him, and I saw people betting him already at 25-1 and different places like that.
People will be off Kirk too, right? Like he came in, he carried over a lot of momentum from the Century getting ownership last week at the Sony, right? We don't normally see that. Winners, for whatever reason, tend to get really low ownership, and he was doing everybody well, and then Sunday he just kind of sucked donkey dick. So I think people are probably thinking, maybe he's worn down. I don't know. Maybe he needs a drink. I don't know, but I think people are off him.
Maybe someone just asked that because the sobriety that we've seen this last two winners, right?
Yeah.
Both those winners, Grayson said 8 months now sober, and obviously Chris Kirk's been battling a lot and then got through it, and he's on his journey now, so he's sober and got his win the week before. But it's tough to say. First and an 18th, and then comes in here off a third last year. So I don't know. Maybe Kirk could still pick up some, but what I do notice for sure, at least early on, it looks like that 93 to maybe even with Tony there, 93 to 96 or 98 looks overlooked completely. It'll be Tom Kim probably getting the ownership up there.
Is Kiradach? I hope Kiradach Epi Barnrat's in here because I think that guy's had a couple drinks in his day, so maybe he can fit our "we need drinkers" narrative.
No, he's not. He didn't make it to this one. Interestingly enough, 8,900, the Best Buy version of the 8Ks, kicks off with it's been going on for a little while now, but today it looks like it's even closer to happening, is the Wyndham Clark to live rumor. It looks like he's going to join John Rahm's team there with young player, up-and-comer Caleb Surratt, and then the other, or Surratt, I forget how people call it, but he was a really good talent. You can watch him out there playing in the USAM, stuff like that. You can see him in. And Wyndham Clark is 8,900 here, drops down to Daniel Berger coming back at 8K, making his debut, coming back to the tour at $8,000 down there. But you've got Wyndham Clark down to Berger. You can see the 8 range. What are you doing in there?
I mean, first of all, I think this range, no one's really jumping off the page to me here, but I do think this area is going to be popular just by roster construction. I think that people are almost certainly going to want to play one of those 10K guys, and I think that we already said that a lot of those 9K guys are going to get skipped, so this is going to be a natural landing point for a lot of people to get the second, third, or maybe fourth guy into their lineups in this range. First of all, Wyndham Clark at 8,900. I like Wyndham Clark at tougher courses, so like that, at a birdie fest, I agree. He will have one, maybe two great rounds, but he never puts 4 rounds together at a birdie fest for me. And when I think of a birdie fest donkey dick, give me old Eric Cole. He's just an absolute birdie fest kind of guy. Adam Hadwin, Batia, those are all birdie fest kind of guys. But to me, guys like Shane Lowry, I've never can visualize Shane Lowry winning a tournament at -20. Maybe he has, but in my perception of a guy like Shane Lowry, he just doesn't nuke like that, right?
Well, I agree. And also, I don't remember a time too often besides maybe the year he won the Open Championship where it was like I didn't play Lowry and it just burned me. I just don't. That's what I can't remember in my head where it was like, damn, he crushed. I mean, there was other terms. I think it was like Canadian Open one year that he showed up and did all right and stuff like that. So I know there is opportunities in there, but Eric Cole has to be popular in this range. There was even a stat, Underdog posted it out today, Underdog PGA or whatever, or Underdog Golf, I think it is. It was posting out about your guy, Iceberg, in the swing season versus Eric Cole, and Eric Cole's just been dusting everybody, right? He does it again this past week. So it's a 14th and a 13th are his Hawaii showings. Not too bad. And it might have been him in Hawaii versus Iceberg. I can't remember the exact stat, but it was definitely funny just to see it that way.
You mean Eric Cole finished 14th and miscut? Just put a little asterisk by that miscut because he was one of those lucky donkeys that got in at -2.
You just knew he was going off. Like you said, as soon as you see that happens, it does. Siwoo, I don't know. Let me get your take on this. Siwoo, Cam Davis, and Akshay, those are 3 guys that were involved and weren't, and had their ups and downs. That could still work in 3 guaranteed rounds, but we still got to get them to that 4th one here, right? So what's your thoughts on those 3 if you had to just sort of talk through them?
I was watching Siwoo closely last week. I had a lot of exposure to him, especially in some of my better lineups. And I was watching his shots, and there's good Siwoo and there's bad Siwoo, right? And more, him and Hideki, probably more than any 2 players, there's good and bad. And it was good Siwoo last week. He was playing well. He wasn't doing captain's slump of shoulders all the time on every shot. And he just wasn't making any putts. I mean, the guy was hitting fairways, hitting greens all day, just didn't make putts. And it was getting a little frustrating. But I will tell you, when Siwoo's in a good mental place, he legit has $9,500 salary upside, so you might be getting a good price discount on him, but there's also a chance it's going to be bad Siwoo and he's like a $6,500 player. So I would just say if it carries over, I believe he'll be good Siwoo again, but it's also Siwoo. He's volatile as shit. Know what you're signing up for. Which
makes it tricky when you're talking about, the high volatility is fine. We're used to that in golf. But when you're talking about a guy with that at 8,600, you do have to start thinking about just a little bit more because, like I say, if you do get the other side of that, the other thing is you got to think he at least comes in with some ownership. Obviously, his history here, very strong, winning it 3 years ago, 11th and a 22nd. And then also he is coming in off of a decent showing last week. It still, sort of fell apart on the weekend. But he was fine before that, and people were seeing him, and his stats were good. He was locked in there. So I would think he could still pick up some. So Cole, Siwoo, Kim would be guys that stand out here. And then I think Putnam being at 8K, Taylor Montgomery, those are the other 2. Probably Putnam that carries over. He got, just to give you an idea, I was calling this all week, but he ended up being 55% in the King of the Desert. He was there. He was way up there in other tournaments. People played him and Svensson together. I know you and I were talking on Sunday about showdown slates and stuff. We were just texting back and forth. It's just funny to see people just jam 90%, 50%, 60%. It's like, wow, nice lineup. Like really good leverage there. So that was the case with Putnam that last week. Could you see that carrying over? Because it was another good Sunday round.
I just find it amazing that it was like just 2 weeks ago, like Putnam was like $6,800. Nobody wants to play him. Now he's 8,000 and he's going to be chalk. I don't know. I'm not a buyer. I mean, the guy ended up doing well last week, almost carried me to a Sunday win at Showdown. Because if you didn't see that donkey dick going nuke, you don't know Showdown. I just, at some point, like him, Taylor Montgomery, these guys are getting overpriced for how good of players they are. And then if I also have to pay an ownership premium on them, I'm out like a fat kid in dodgeball.
Yeah, and I also remember, too, you were on, I can't remember which round it was for your stream, but you were talking about it being an upside-down world or whatever. And
Taylor Montgomery.
Yeah. The guy was ball striking but not putting. It's like, wow, what's it going to be here? So I guess that would be one thing I would say that's kind of interesting is he's 8,100. Yep. You have to think Putnam. I mean, maybe people take shots on Berger. I don't know, but definitely Steven Jaeger when we get there in a second. Zalatoris, like this upper 7K range, I can already see it. I'm just looking for the first time, but first two guys that pop up, Jaeger, Zalatoris, and don't worry, your guy, Dumpy Bo, right behind him. So people love playing those guys. They're going to love playing Putnam. I think you could see Montgomery be okay there. And it definitely looks
if it's going to be a putting contest, you should like Taylor Montgomery. I don't even think he putted very well last week either. But long term, I do think he is, with Denny withdrawing from this, I think he is almost definitively the best putter in this field long term.
And almost treat it like a showdown slate from last week. Hey, we saw he was ball striking well, not making putts. We know what his talent is. And now here it's a fair price. He's less than your average price tag with potential chalk pieces around him that you could pivot from. Again, we don't know where ownership is going to end up till later in the week, but just to look at it for now, we'll see what course they start on. If there's any edges that way, we'll talk about all that and more throughout the week on all the different shows that we're doing. But first look, good to see. This range, James, looks pretty popular here, man. Jaeger, Zalatoris, 7,900. I saw you could bet him at 100-1. Today when it first came out with the odds. I think it's dropped some from there. Hostler, Pendrith. There's a lot of guys in here to talk about. So talking about this upper range, 7,500 up to 79.
Yeah, so first of all, Will Baronosaurus, because he's got that long neck like a Baronosaurus. Here's what I can tell you about him. First of all, he's going to be fine. He will be back one day. I just don't think he's there yet, and I'm not trying to be early to that party. Furthermore, if there is a dude that I want at a tough course and not at a putting contest, it's old Willie Z, old Willie Baronosaurus. So, like, he's a hard out for me. I know that you will get incredible leverage on him. He'll probably come in sub 5% again, and just on sheer talent, that's embarrassing. I just can't get over the fact that I think he's still messed up, and he's just not confident with his game yet. To me, I want guys who can get a little roasty with the putter, right? And like there are some dudes in this range that can get roo-roo toasty with the putter. First of all, Dumpy Bo. And I think he's a little overpriced. 7,800 seems a little high for Dumpy Bo in this field. And so I think you're probably going to get him at reasonable ownership. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see what the projections look like. But he's the one dude really standing out to me. Taylor Pendrith was surprisingly decent last week. But a lot of these guys have pretty questionable putters. And I don't know that there's a lot of dudes in this range that I want to try. And last I saw, no weather in the forecast, so I don't know that Aaron Rai wearing 2 gloves is going to give him a big edge this week.
He was a bad letdown over the weekend too. The thing about him was he did his job and got to the 3 under, maybe more. I can't remember, but he was through, and the guys that were getting left behind were Svensson and Putnam. Or no, Putnam was ahead of him too.
Cole.
Sorry, Svensson.
Yeah, Svensson, Cole, Connors. There was a ton of them.
Yeah, Svensson was in the same price range, though. So if you didn't play the double chalk there, I was trying to leverage that way because he was on my King of the Desert lineup, and he let me down over the weekend. But the interesting part is usually when he has 2 good rounds, the weekend's actually okay out of him, regardless, of course. We monitored that quite heavily last year, so I hear where you're coming from there. Somebody tagged Mayo and I. We had a small discussion on the Tuesday show where I just brought up the point I always say when we were talking about Nick Taylor versus Taylor Pendrith. 2 Canadians, 2 Taylors, which is going to be, and I said the comment, it's how this usually works, is we talk about which one it's going to be, and it ends up being both. He tagged us in the lineup, it ends up being both, and he wins 25K with it or something. So congrats to them. That was awesome to see, but it's just the way it goes. I'm wondering if this actually comes true, like you mentioned, but if like Zalatoris and Hostler do come in lower owned, that would be more interesting. I know what you said about Zalatoris. I watched an interview last week with him, and he says he's fine. Obviously, he's going to say what he has to say, but as you know, it stands, he did not look fine. So that's kind of the problem there. I'm always a guy that plays Bo Hostler. I know you're not, but I usually play him. I usually play Jaeger. I'll have to see where this week takes me. How did Keith Mitchell end up finishing up last week? Because he was one that I went back and forth on last week. Ended up getting him in the $5 with like
30th. He got 30th.
Yeah, 150 MME. I liked him because like he's more of a boom bust play, and he still fits that same mold here. Gets 3 rounds, but at 7,700, could go overlooked here. I think he would be an interesting option. And then Shank, Hoagie. You usually like Hoagie too, so Shank, Hoagie, guys that can make birdies. And then what about a Matt Kuchar bounce back after letting everybody down?
Dude, I liked Matt Kuchar so much last week. Like I was so in on that 50-year-old dad bod, and man, he just like did not. I mean, he was great round 1, and then I don't know what happened round 2. Like it was bad. It was just really bad golf. But I if I've learned anything, Matt Kuchar fucked me real good last week, and if I fade him this week, he's gonna fuck me again. So I'm not gonna let him do it 2 weeks in a row. I'm going right back to that donkey dick.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility here. And he's at 7,500. The aforementioned Nick Taylor is there. Some of these other guys. Anybody else in that upper 7K range you want to mention? If not, you can take us into the lower 7K tier here for the first look.
Yeah, I mean, that upper 7 range not doing it for me. I think, like a lot of those guys there are good golfers, but they're guys that I like at those more difficult and medium range courses. Like Aaron Rai is a dude I just don't ever see getting to -4 or to -24. Oh, he'll get to -4, but he's not going to get to -24 and win this. And if I'm playing a guy in the upper 7s, I at least need them to have the upside to win the tournament, and I just don't think that's the style of tournament. I think a guy like Nick Taylor has a better chance at winning this tournament than Aaron Rai, but I think Aaron Rai probably has a better like median projection than him. So getting down here to the lower 7Ks, I'm just looking for guys that can go nuclear hot. Don't sleep on old KH Lee. He was getting a little warmed up, and if you don't know, KH Lee can get real hot at golf. So he's a dude that jumps out. Sam Ryder is a dude that can get roasty hot. I don't know that I want to chase Sam Stevens and Pavon and all of that, but Michael Kim was a dude I was tracking all last week, was playing sneaky well, and we've already seen, I mean, he's won the John Deere at like, what, -26 or something? So a guy that can get nuclear hot on these courses.
Yeah, Michael Kim is trying to follow the footsteps of Max Homa, I believe. Become like the nice guy on Twitter that everybody likes, that starts helping people out and having fun with things on there, then get good, and then start doing more. And the chat, I got to talk to them real quick. Like, Rin, my boy, #SHIPIT, is in the Discord all the time. I'm not joining you. Like, he didn't do anything for you. 50-second, 20-second, 30-second. We don't just play guys to make cuts. I think that's a misconception as well. I'd rather take the guys around him. When he won back 10 weeks ago now, yeah, you had to have him. But I stick to this motto. Always, never. You can't spell never without EVR. I'll play them, like Nick says, in Showdown. That's how you make money with EVR. You use them in round 3, round 4, something like that. The guy is usually a great spot to play in Showdown.
Did you see that guy's Chewbacca dog in his little picture? He had like a dog with Chewbacca. That's
nice.
That's awesome.
Rin, our boy,
that is awesome.
Good dude, Rin is. And he posted in the chat last night. He said, "Bad week for me, only got $10 back." I said, "Damn, I hope you're only in for $9. And he goes, "No, 500. I said, "Oh, that's just the fantasy gods," because he made so much money during NFL. They were just taking a little bit back, win some, lose some, always learn something. And that's kind of the way we always have it over both of our sites, DGen75 and at SHIPIT. It's always about that. Even if you don't win 10 weeks in a row, it happens. We go on. I know, like you said it before, people will message you and say, "Oh, I lost 3 weeks in a row. I must be doing something wrong." It's like, you can figure things out, but it's 3 weeks. Like, come on. So you have to keep that in mind at all times. But what people forget is you do pick up on these little things, these shows. Some people might watch this show with us and say, bit entertaining, but didn't learn much. It's not for me, whatever. That's fine. But you're trying to pick up on little tidbits, like why I'm always posting them out and talking about them, to get information and nuggets that can help you for other decisions. What about when it happens a month from now and you kind of say, I remember from this to do that? These things add up, and they do compound over time, can make you money that way as well. It only takes one huge week or 4 or 5 good weeks to make money in this sport, in this game, right?
Yes, sir. Did it last year. Kicking the dick. And then just 3 really big weeks, pays it all off, and gives me a little bit to have to pay some taxes on.
That's what we love to see, right? Taxes paid. You hate that about me. So I digress. We'll leave it at that one there. Ben Coles, back to the well on him. Mayo was so happy to have him in the lineup against me. I'm still going to give him shit for this one, though, because he put me on the spot, says I have to build a lineup against him in a head-to-head, and then uses the lineup that we built together to beat me with it, and then talk about it on Twitter. I said, come on now. We can't count that one, but it's okay. I'll let him have it. He had a really good week, by the way. He won the smaller $5 drive to green with 5K on top.
Yeah,
so
that was crazy. You know,
Huge week for him.
Pat's actually sneaky good at PGA DFS. Like he plays the court jester thing, but like anybody who was up lifetime at PGA DFS, you can't do it on accident unless you've just hit one big lineup ever, right? Pat, this has got to be like the 4th or 5th time I can remember him hitting either winning a tournament or getting a big payday, and he's not a guy that's playing $5,000 a week. He is good at PGA DFS. Don't fall for it, and know that man is magical because he single-handedly made the cut -2 when it had no business being -2. He's a magical man.
The willing of that was just too much. I could just see it. Every tweet, I've got his tweet notifications on. He's my boy, so I'm seeing him pop up, and I almost had to turn him off. I was like, I can tell what's happening already. Oh, if just this happens, but if by the way, if this guy misses, we're still good. And I'm like, shut the.
I got a take on this, right? Here's what so many people don't understand. If the cut would have been -3, the 6 of 6 rate would have been 4%, right? And let's say that would have made it where you only have 4% of your lineups get through, right? So the 6 of 6 rate's 4%, and you also have 4%, so you're only matching the field. But all of a sudden, it jumped to 20% whenever the cut was -2, right? But let's say you have 25% 6 of 6. You're probably thinking, oh, I would rather have the 25% of my lineups be 6 of 6. But what you don't understand is you would have been so much better in the other scenario where you have 4% of your lineups only make a 6 of 6, but only 4% of the field does, because now you're competing against so many fewer lineups over the weekend that you don't have to run nuclear hot to still go win the contest. You always want carnage, even if you think it doesn't benefit you. As long as you have one good lineup, and it doesn't matter, you just want carnage so that you have a better chance of getting that 6 of 6 to be able to not have to sun run on the weekend, but just simply do well, and you can win or do well in a GPP.
Also, I want to add to that because I love that call. Two things. One is that the fact of, like you said, the smaller pool you're up against is one part, but the second part is it's probably because the chalk all busted, which means you actually have real leverage in your lineups. When you have 25% 6 of 6, I know people think this is weird talking about it from this perspective, but it's going to go to my second point. It's like you kind of know, yeah, okay, I've got more chances, but it's all these little 2v2s and 1v1s and stuff like that down the stretch. That's why in something like King of the Desert, I kept saying this. I was so tilted. I don't get tilted very often. I said I'll be tilted for 10 minutes over this one because whatever, you're happy to be in it. So many people would love to be in the same place. I am grateful to be in such a small field with an opportunity of a lifetime. But the point is that it's like everyone, I was saying people played bad because they all built these lineups with no leverage in them whatsoever. And so that's why everyone was riding the bubble yesterday the way it played out. If it had a stayed, it wasn't just for my benefit that I would have been locked in to get in, but I think I played the contest better because for the format, everyone played it like a cash game, and it was not a cash game. It was the top 50 of 150, 33% get through. So you have to keep that in mind. Those little edges do matter. And it's the same thing for people that say on a Friday, like, oh, you do realize you were heavy on this guy. Like I had an outright at 60-1 on Keegan yesterday. I wanted him to bury that thing. I hate that rule. By the way, you hit the grandstand, it's a free drop, just the worst. I'll let that get buried. When you have a lineup on Friday with that situation, I think you had one. It was like 250 in the 254 max. You will bury $1,200 on whoever else it is that made through the cut because of that, because those lineups don't matter to you as much anymore as the scenario and position you're in with the ultimate shot going into the weekend against just a few number of teams.
I had a ton of Svensson, and I wanted the dude to miss the cut because he wasn't in my nutted lineup, right? Like, no, you got so much money on him. Yes, but if he and all those other guys are out, that makes this 6 of 6 lineup and the 4 max 250 infinitely more valuable. So fuck Svensson, he can miss the cut. Also, for all of you that don't know, me and Tambo, we do tilt PGA DFS. The only difference between us and a lot of people is we've been doing it so long, our tilts just last for a few minutes, okay? Everybody tilts. Just whenever you tilt for days or weeks at a time, maybe you need to keep some shit in perspective.
Yeah, and just realize there's always another showdown slate you can fire up. The showdown, showdown, get another stream on, get some cold brew in you, get it all, check it out, Bob. You'll love it. So I'm in. I'm all for it. I just think it was one of those things that I had to call out because it was definitely, a fact that, again, not everybody goes or thinks like that. And you don't have to. It's just how you and I tend to think. And to me, it's always the way that you look at it, how you look at things, not just, what's actually happening out there. Like you said, the 200 thing, it wasn't just 200 lines that were 5 of 6 sneaking through. It was lineups that would have been 3 of 6 or 4 of 6 that now had 2 or 3 guys sitting at 200 that all got through as well. And then they're just competing against each other on 2v2s where it's just brutal the way it can cut you up. So definitely a good point that you brought up there. Anybody else in the 7s that you want to talk about? If not, you can take us into the 6s and then we'll get out of here after that. We do have, like I said, NFL show coming up next and go from there, but lots to still talk about here. Low 7s and then 6s. If anything
you stay busy, Tambo. Busy.
Oh yeah, it never ends. But this is the last Monday for football. I'm excited about it. It was $1 million up top tonight in that Tampa Bay Philly game, but I'm just saying it is the last Monday for football.
Hey, the good news is if you're trying to get nice and lean for our waste management meetup, just stay busy all day and just forget to eat. That's a little diet trick from the big guy there.
And shout out to Dylan real quick. I want to see this. He says for King of the Desert, it ended up going to 58%, 6 of 6 or something. But my 5 of 6 made it because of lower owned plays.
My man Dylan.
What's your username, Dylan? Just throw it in there. I mean, I saw a couple other members. I'm not sure if you know it, but that is the point though. Yes, the leverage would have helped you get through. I didn't go back and check how many 5 of 6s snuck in and made it, but you beat some 6 of 6s that played their cash lineup for sure, because that's what they get for playing those bad lineups.
I saw that SHIPIT. I saw at least 3 people in your community, including you, made it, right? And I saw at least 2 in my community made it. So we got some real live. We got some people getting real live to make the final 50 of winning that thing.
Nice, Dylan. I know this name, and I know you got DJ's logo. That's why I always wondered who that was. I knew he was a member over at your site, but King in the North Skull. Nice. So, that's awesome. Hopefully we can get through this week. It's the top 15 of 50. Move on. It's always a challenge. The field is loaded with people that had multiples and everything like that, but it's going to be an awesome week. It makes it fun, more of a sweat. We will be down. We got time. We can still preview it now, but DJ, we will be in Phoenix, Arizona, at the Waste Management in just a couple short weeks now. So on February 8th to the 12th, we'll be down there. The full itinerary will be out. I'm finalizing if we don't get it locked in for the Super Bowl watch party by the middle of this week or so, we're going to move on to the next step, but we'll have something for that as well. But we'll be at Pop Stroke on Friday night. We're going to be there from 8 to 11. Anyone who's down there, it's going to be an awesome time. You can come in. We got some drink tickets, some food, going to be hanging out, having some fun, hitting some balls, doing that sort of stuff. It's putting, but everybody's good at putting. They like it. So that'll be fun. Saturday night, we'll be at one of the casinos down there. You can come out and hang out if you like, obviously at the course, at least on Friday afternoon, and on Saturday, I know for a fact is when I'll be there. And then Sunday, we've got some stuff with the Super Bowl being that night, all that, but we'll let it be known where we're at there as well. And you guys can come on down and hang out with us, or if you're already down there, even more the reason to do so. Anything else you want to add on that? If not, you can take us into the 6K range.
Looking for some guys that can get roasty hot down here, right? Like I'm just gonna go with the same thing. My dude Toasty, I kind of like that guy. I like the arm sleeve, right? Him and Dylan Fratelli just rocking the arm sleeve like they're playing a game of pickup basketball.
Toasty can get roasty. Is that the new one?
Yeah, Roasty Toasty. That's the name. Yeah. New nickname alert, Roasty Toasty. All right. Look, he had a terrible Saturday, but I think that guy bounced back with a really nice Sunday. So don't sleep on old Roasty Toasty. But like going down here, Harry Hall, T Dunks, Robbie Shelton, let's see if there's anybody else. Chad Ramey. Like, these guys are gross. But you know what? When they're in, they know how to go real low. Those are guys that all can get to minus 20. I don't mind playing those guys. And I promise you, all of them will be under 3% owned. So, like, these are the kind of guys, especially when I know that they're guaranteed 3 rounds, I'm willing to take and mix in with the more expensive dudes as my pump plays this week. Oh, Callum Tarrant. Don't even get me started on Callum tearing out my heart.
Yeah. Your guy Crazy Carl, though, is down there too. Mayo always likes him as well. He's in there at 6,900. So some 6K Best Buy pricing on Carl after a big week last week. The chat asked about Kazire in the 7Ks. Did you talk about him at all, or did you like him in the spot?
Oh, yeah. No, look, you need to know something. I have some guys like Jordan Spieth and Arrowhead that I always get right. Well, Patton Kazire is one of those guys, just the exact opposite. I play him all the time, never get him right. He's just if I wanted to do things right, I'd just never play him again. But I like kind of what I saw from Patton Kazire, and he is a dude that can go real low, and he just finished 13th at the Sony. It doesn't take a lot of convincing to get the big guy on Patton Kazire.
Yeah, 13th and 15th in 2 of his last 4, 11th and 22nd.
Don't sleep on Dylan Wu either. Started to warm up over the weekend, and Dylan Wu is one of those guys you look up. It's like, how in the hell is that guy -7 through 8 holes? That's always Dylan Wu.
We can go back to Troy Merritt, too, I think. I remember last week I introduced you. You just told me something about you. Remember I introduced you to the Troy Merritt flow chart?
Yep.
Comes true again, man. The guy just always comes through, at least a made cut and scores. It's not like you needed him, so I won't say that much, but just always seems to be the case. He's down here at 6,500. Who else? There's some other spots down here. Old Panda, he was in the mix there for a minute. People were liking him, and then he fell off again. So that's typically going to be the case. I'm sure Mayo will try and talk me into Carson Young. See if we can go there.
Shez Reavy, can I get a little Shez? Yeah, I missed the cut at Sony. I don't care. They bounce back.
I don't see a lot. I'm just trying to scroll the whole list just to see if I see other ones down here that, guys like.
What, Kevin Yu? We're not interested in Kevin Yu. That guy can get real hot.
Yeah, 6,300. I like him.
Yeah, not anybody else. I mean, I would do the Pearson Cootie, but I can't do the funny voice, so I'm not going to do him.
We'll save that one for tomorrow's show. I don't see much else down here at all that I want to talk about. So.
Michael Block? What about him?
No block talk.
You get out of here with that slap dick. If you put him in your lineups, you don't talk to me for 1 year.
I ain't doing that. That's nuts. We're not playing. I don't see much else down here though, man. I don't have anybody.
It gets gross real quick, doesn't it? It gets gross real quick. Like after about 6,500, it got real gross real quick.
Yeah, Kevin Yu at 6,300 maybe. We could end the show on that, I guess, like a quick conversation around just overall roster construction now, just on first thoughts of what you've seen. Obviously very ugly when you get to 6,500 and below. You can be very convincing in making some cases for guys that you just tried to sell us on in the 66 to $6,900 range. And I'm not against it. I like the guys you mentioned there, like a guy like Tyler Duncan or something, but it does look like people will be able to play sevens and above again. No problem.
Yep.
And I don't know. It's hard for me to assess right now. Do you think it's going to be the 8Ks or the 9Ks that goes overlooked? I'm starting to think it's the 9s, because if you've got Cole and Siwoo and some other guys, Putnam and dudes that you can make a case for in there, it makes me think that already we weren't sure if people were going to go to Kirk, Fowler, Finau. We really don't think they're going to go to Burns, Lee, Day, and maybe they don't go to Thomas. But even if they do go to Thomas, that's behind the other Tom Kim, and that's him going there that you could see. So Tom Kim, Poston look popular, but most of the other 9Ks look overlooked. Is that how you're seeing it?
Yeah, definitely. I think you're going to see those probably the top 5 guys will get ownership, and then I think there's going to be a bit of a dead range down to Poston. And just looking at the early roster composition, here's what I would tell you: this tournament, more than most, and it's probably just because of the Birdie Fest nature, the hashtag fucking putting contest nature of this tournament, it's a bit more volatile. So to me, this is a week to play some of those random guys that I just think those guys are more likely to get there than they are at a real golf tournament. So if I'm going to play chalk up top, I'm going to make a point to diversify down low with just some icky punts. And I think we already said 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, I don't hate that. And I think that's going to be what I'm going to look at too. It's going to be a roster construction week for sure. Just you can see it already where it's going to get spread out, and then we'll wait. There could be more narratives brought into this. Again, literally the very first look, the prices came out seconds before. I pressed refresh. It said reserve only or whatever, reservation only. Pressed refresh again. The prices were there. But the point is that what course are they starting on? Who gets what course on what day? The weather narrative will be brought up further as the week goes on. Maybe not necessarily because it's crazy weather. Right now, it looks like, just looking out early, that there wasn't much. But if anything pops up, it will be brought into people starting to trying to figure out, well, this course on this day, and you want to play in the wind on this course and not in the wind on that course, so on and so forth. So keep in tune for all of that stuff. We'll have you covered. Give us your final thoughts and where people can find you this week, everything you got going on, James.
Yeah, my weather guy already put out the first kind of initial look, and it looks like it's going to be very beautiful all the first 3 days, right? I think it's just going to be a little cool in the morning, which can slow down scoring. As for me, guys, just come check out the Wednesday night stream, 7 o'clock. That's in the Lord's time zone. Be there for that. I'll have all the final information you need to know, from weather to ownership to leverage to the model and all the shit in between. I'll have everything you need. If you had never seen it, it's a show a little bit different than the others. I encourage you to come check it out. I will do all the selling on that show, so just be there live. It is the most popular stream in PGA DFS, so I encourage you to come check it out. Thanks again, Tambo, for having me on. I enjoy doing these.
Yeah, they're always good. I like that we bounce them back and forth too, so people can always know where to find us. We always post it out. If you follow us on X, you can get it there. You can see it where we post it out that way. If you're a member already at either of our sites, you'll see it in the Discord. I throw James's shows in the Discord throughout the week for the ones we're not doing, like showdown shows for now and things like that. So check out both of us out there if you guys can. If you want to check out the sites, go to dgen75.com. You can use promo code SHIPIT for 10% off there. If you want to check out the introductory pricing over at SHIPIT Nation on PGA options, you can use the code. Is it DGen or DGen75? I thought it was DGen.
Pretty sure I thought it was DGen75. I don't know. The editor probably set that up.
Only one will work.
Do I look like a guy that has my shit together? I don't know what I'm doing. I know golfers.
If DGen doesn't work, save yourself the button pressing. If it doesn't work, it says code invalid, just add a 7.5 and you're good to go. But it's the key is you will get the 10% off the introductory pricing. So when the introductory pricing goes up, you still can get 10% off, but it's going to be on a higher number. So it's not going to be as good of a deal or as good of a savings. That's going to do it for this one, guys. I'll be live coming up next with Hoop and title just 5 minutes from now, 4 minutes from now. It's about to click over to Talkin' NFL over on the Mail Media Network YouTube station. So check that out. That's going to do it for this one, guys. For Degenerate75 and for myself, ToeTagginTambo, let's ship it.